LEGO Brawls was a game that I've had my eye on for a little while now, as it's one that I've kind of been expecting to make its way over to PC for the past year or so. It's an odd game. I think that for so many reasons now, we in the gaming space have been so used to the idea of LEGO only ever making single-player or local co-op games, most notably the TT games developed licensed games like LEGO Star Wars, LEGO Harry Potter, LEGO Indiana Jones, etc. That the idea of a new LEGO game from a different studio is something entirely out of left field. Doubly so when you consider that this is a PvP multiplayer-centric game, where you have to beat the shit out of other players in order to claim your spot in first place before the match ends. The first thing you're going to want to do when you load up the game is create your own character. Now, for whatever reason, the customization options present in this demo were almost non-existent, which doesn't really make a lot of sense, since at this point it's unclear whether this is going to be a paid game when it launches later this year, or a free-to-play one. I'd heard initially this was going to be free-to-play, but now I'm hearing that console pre-orders have already leaked, and apparently this game is going for a $40 base retail price tag. In either case, it's not like the developers should feel the need to tease us with such limited options in order to get us to buy the full game, because even if you gave people limited time access to all of the customization options, wouldn't that just further incentivize people to buy or just install your game? And it's not like they're actively developing most of these assets in the time between this demo and the full game. The original mobile game itself has been out for years, and while I haven't played that version of it, I'm willing to bet that they've had most of these customization options in that since day one, so it's not like the developers need to reinvent the wheel or anything here. It's just a matter of unlocking what they appear to have pointlessly locked off for later use. But whatever, I look forward to spending more time critiquing the character customization when the full game releases. At any rate, you then hop into a tutorial, which I believe you can't skip. Personally, I stuck right through it just to familiarize myself with the gameplay loop and the basic control scheme, but again, you can choose to do so or not, whatever option seems best to you. I don't know what it is with PC ports of fighting games always being blatantly adverse to utilizing the mouse in the default control scheme. Everything is bound to random letters, and while it can be a bit tricky to figure out which letter does what, while I'm sure the full game will feature rebindable controls, the demo was a bit more restrictive. I couldn't even open the options menu to see which key does what. Even a simple JPEG showing the corresponding keyboard controls would have been a nice addition. That said, while the controls for the game leave much to be desired, it's the gameplay that takes center stage here, and as far as that goes, it's not too bad. I'd be lying if I said that LEGO Brawls was this highly refined experience with an incredibly high skill ceiling. It screams casual fun in almost every aspect of its design. This game seems to take pleasure in building a unique laid-back party experience where players can connect with each other and subsequently smash each other to pieces without imposing artificial brick walls on players along the way. One of the few problems with LEGO as an IP as it relates to LEGO Brawls here is that LEGO as a brand doesn't have much of a unique identity these days, because it's become almost exclusively dependent on third-party IPs to fuel their sales. Aside from LEGO's own first-party Ninjago IP, which has a themed level featured here in LEGO Brawls, the other levels appear to be based in the worlds of other licensed IPs like Jurassic Park. While I'm definitely more than happy to smash over players in more licensed locales like maybe Hogwarts Castle or Batman's own Batcave, I'm hoping to see a ton of more original maps mixed in as well. I don't want this to be another LEGO-fied regurgitation of existing IPs. As much as I know many people appreciated what LEGO Dimensions tried to do, I don't think we need another LEGO Dimensions anytime soon. I will say though that as far as gameplay goes, the maps are great. There's a side-scrolling element involved here where instead of trying to keep all the players on the same screen as games like Super Smash Bros. Do, here in LEGO Brawls the camera only shows you your own third-party perspective and nothing else. I should mention that it does seem to be presented specifically in 2.5D, which should be old news for any of you familiar with brawler-type games like this. The objectives are usually fairly straightforward, although there do appear to be a fair number of objectives available, which range from your typical free-for-all deathmatch mode to alternatively a team deathmatch mode, and a few others besides. I especially had a bit of fun with a King of the Hill type mode where both teams of players were fighting to control the small central area in which a empty Titanfall-like mech could be claimed by a player, creating this constant mayhem where half the time us players would be more focused on claiming the mech itself rather than claiming the point, because we all knew that any player who successfully claimed the mech could quickly turn the tide of battle single-handedly in their team's favor. I myself got to spend a decent portion of these matches in the mech, as you can see sporadically with the gameplay featured here. I should note that there was a small balance concern relating to the mech, as it's quite easy to single-handedly spawn camp the enemy team, effectively blocking them from exiting through the one entrance that leads from their spawn room to the central fighting area. I wish the developers added some higher elevation barrier that basically blocked the mech from literally body blocking the doorway without any possibility for the enemy team to counter their move. This shouldn't be at all hard to do, it's just a matter of the developers taking the time to actually, do their jobs. One area I felt the developers really dropped the ball utterly was in terms of the complexity of the combat system. LEGO as a brand has always defined itself by encouraging creative thinking, challenging kids and adults to come up with unorthodox solutions to overcome intricate problems. And yet here in a LEGO Brawler game, this philosophy is in no way represented in the core gameplay. LEGO Brawls doesn't even give you any kind of directional attack mechanic. You'd have to manually turn your character before they'd hit anything in that direction. No back kick or midair twists or backward corkscrews followed up immediately by an uppercut, none of that. And as was the case with my earlier spawn camping comment, none of this would have been especially hard to implement for the developers. The only reason I can imagine as to why LEGO Brawls as a fighting game doesn't have anything representing a proper combat system is because the developers were so obsessed with streamlining everything, down to the point that they removed any potential complexity that might give experienced players even the remotest edge over less experienced players. Oversimplification is a common mistake I've seen many developers and publishers make, and without fail, it's always to the game's detriment. Whether Brawls is set to ultimately be a free-to-play game or a paid game, obviously there's a question of how do the developers plan to monetize the game at launch and post-launch. LEGO Brawls initially debuted on iOS via Apple Arcade, Apple's own premium subscription service for mobile gaming. So the developers, I imagine, participated in some kind of revenue-sharing program with Apple for that mobile release, as well as maybe a flat sum for Apple getting that exclusivity early on. However, for the PC market, they'll have to figure out something else entirely, and that's definitely something I plan to keep my eye on as we get closer to the game's fall release window. On that note though, that's where I think I'm going to wrap it up for today. I'll probably swing back around to review LEGO Brawls when it does release in full on September 1st, but if not, consider this preview a vague warning about what you might expect from the game moving forward. As ever, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to click the like button and comment below what you think of the game. Comments really help my videos get boosted in the algorithm, and plus I read and respond to nearly all the comments I get, so even if you want to drop a comment just to say hi or get my opinion on something, even if it's unrelated to this video, I'll be happy to talk with you down below. Likewise, subscribing and clicking the bell really helps. I'm hoping to hit 2,000 subscribers really soon. That'd be a nice goal to hit. I know it's cliche, no one wants to hear me beg for subs, but again, YouTube algorithm is a bitch to deal with, everyone knows it, so I gotta do my bit. Thanks for putting up with me, this is Warrior Dan signing out. Stay awesome everybody, stay safe and peace out.